What is the spiral of light consciousness? Hi, I'm Alan Gordon, author and creator of the Cycle of Mind system and the School of Ancient Wisdom. And in this video, I want to give you a little bit more information about achieving this experience of light consciousness. And then I'm really excited because I'm going to share with you a very important technique in mental training. It's called spiraling. And even if you don't fully grasp the importance of this idea of spiraling the first time you hear it, I don't want to hold it back because I want to give you the full story of the potential you have when you raise your awareness to light consciousness. Now, for those of you who are doing the Cycle of Mind mental exercises, the thought matrix, morning and evening, you're aware of spiraling because you're already creating your own new cycles of thoughts and beliefs through the thought matrix. And it's the power of the spiral that you create which gives power to those thoughts. The more you repeat the cycle, the stronger the pattern of thought becomes. Spirals will also be very familiar to you if you're studying your energetic body. You already know energy flows through and around you in spirals. Your chakras are perfect examples of spirals. Your energy centers flow in rhythms and cycles like water wheels of energy. From the biggest to the smallest, spirals are everywhere. That's why it's so important to understand. The universe itself consists of galactic spirals that are billions of years old. The smallest particle ever discovered, it's called the top quark. They smash atoms together at light speed. And this top quark leaves the trace of, you guessed it, a spiral for 1/1,000,000th of a second. Spiral exists in plants and animals. And of course our own DNA, our very DNA, is a double helix spiral. Matter, energy, power, all travel in spirals and rhythms and cycles. The spiral really is the shape that underlies creation itself. And now I'm going to show you how to create a spiral of light consciousness, which will give you the creative power to shape your own life and design your own future. The light consciousness meditation that you've been doing every day, and I hope you keep up with the practice, it's based on the Vedic teaching of our 5 bodies: our physical body, our emotional body, our energetic body, our mental body, and of course our light body. Now when you look at this picture, you can see all 5, right? You see it from the side, you see all 5 aspects of your being. But imagine if you're down here and you're stuck in lower consciousness. From this perspective, all you see is physical reality. You're not aware of any of these other elements of your being, and you're certainly not aware of light consciousness. To you, from the bottom, physical reality is all there is. You're simply not aware of any other possibility. And it's the opposite of the person who's in light consciousness, because from this perspective, when you look down, all you see is mind. Like an airplane that's above the clouds. All you see is the top of mind. You don't see any of the details of physical reality. Everything underneath mind is invisible to you. In other words, you are not part of this illusion at the bottom. See, at the bottom, you're trapped in this illusion. You're trapped in this reality. We're trapped because we don't know there's another way. We're trapped by decades of subconscious beliefs and limitations that we've had since our early childhood. You don't have to spend all your time in lower consciousness. You can spend as much time as you want in light consciousness, and that's what we're going to talk about. See, when you live in light consciousness, you have no limitations. For example, in light consciousness, you don't have to worry about dying. You're a being of light. You're not going to die. You're eternal. There's a side of you that is eternal. And it's not sucked into the limitations of time and circumstance. There's a part of you where everything is possible. Anything is possible. Where everything exists as an ideal. See, this reality down here that we think is so real and holds us so tightly, in truth, this lower reality is nothing more than an illusion consisting of spirals of energy and matter. And like I said, there's no rules that are telling you you must stay in lower consciousness. You can spend as much time in light consciousness as you want, and that's what we're going to work towards, particularly in this video. Every moment of your life is a choice between living as your lower self or living as your higher self. And the thing that's most difficult for us to grasp is that the world we know, our physical reality, is an illusion that's created and sustained by mind. But light consciousness is not an illusion. Ancient documents paint a very clear picture that many people in history were able to achieve light consciousness, to rise above mind, to rise above the illusion into the clear reality of light. This is your birthright. The Buddha said it. Those who are able to observe their mind will be liberated. Those who are unable to observe their mind will forever be under bondage. I'm using words like light and mind and consciousness and reality, so I understand to a lot of people that might sound like a bunch of high-minded philosophy. But there is nothing philosophical about your future. This is really important. You are one of only a very small group that's even interested in this type of teaching and this type of wisdom. Most people have no interest. But even for those of you who are motivated to discover your light self, your higher consciousness, it's not easy because in order to do it, you have to make disruptive changes to your life. Build a series of new habits to rise yourself to light consciousness. It's a physical effort, an emotional experience, and the most challenging is the need to control your own thoughts. This work of light consciousness is like nothing you've ever done before. You're turning your mind inward and you're challenging every belief you've ever held in your life. But as you gain new abilities, you start to develop a cooperative relationship between the polarity of your yin and your yang. Your yin, your inner being, your light consciousness, and your yang, your outer being, right? And now you have a trusted partner who's just waiting for you to help. And achieving balance between higher self and lower self is one of the greatest accomplishments you can achieve in life. Balance is the key to connecting to light consciousness. So, I want you to take a breath. Relax your shoulders. Take a deep breath. Your inner world is relaxed and balanced. In light consciousness, your world is defined by health, happiness, peace, meaning, and purpose. Your lower consciousness lives in a reality that is hopelessly chaotic and has no real purpose or deep meaning. Most of us drift through our lives as if we were stranded in the sea, bobbing in the waves as the waves push us to and fro. We're unhappy with the direction of our outer world, yet we have no compass to guide us toward a specific direction, and we have no reliable oars, no techniques that we can use to take us there. Well, here is your true moral compass, and it's really the only direction you will ever need. Seek to know your inner self. There you will always find the very best version of yourself. Guided by a moral compass, the spiral of light consciousness will bring the infinite power of mind to the world. And as you become more balanced, the spirals you create become more powerful. Throughout history, every creation, every idea, every success worth noting was brought about in an intelligent, spiraling process from conception to birth to successful manifestation. And if this is your first attempt in mental training, mastering these inner skills takes time. It's an entire shift in your awareness, and we each bring our own history and our own baggage, and each of us brings our own imbalances to the work. But stay with this work, even if at first it might seem uncomfortable and confusing, because very shortly, everything about you will be brought to balance. You will have firm control over every aspect of your life. Now, I told you that the skills that we use in the outer world don't work in our inner world. Analyzing, categorizing, comparing, those are the skills in the outer world. But in the inner world, balance is the key. Light consciousness is balance, and balance is light consciousness. The light consciousness meditation opens a connection with your higher self, sort of like waking up yourself to light consciousness. So over time, you start to become more aware of that light consciousness part of yourself. You start to feel it in a way. And by repeating the meditation for a few days and a few weeks, you're going to generate a subtle feeling of your ability to move your awareness to light consciousness. Now, obviously, you get better at it with more practice. So the question is, how can you more easily get to light consciousness? And then once you're in light consciousness, how can you learn to stay there for a longer period of time? Well, the outer world doesn't really play fair, right? You're constantly drawn down to this lower illusion. So let me explain how the outer world holds us so tightly. And here's why it's so hard to find that balance and get away from the outer world. It's your attachments that keep you bound to the outer world. I want you to think of your attachments like rubber bands. No matter how hard you try to pull away from the attachments, they always pull you back to the outer world. Now, attachments aren't a bad thing. It's what gives your life meaning and purpose. And here's an example of what I mean. In the last video, I talked about the fact that my wife and I have a dog. Now, we are not at liberty to just leave the house for as long as we want. Once we're gone for 5 or 6 or 7 hours, we have to get back because the dog needs us. We have a responsibility to care for the dog. So the longer we stay away from home, the more the rubber band pulls, the more attached we become to the dog. And it's an invisible attachment. And all of our attachments come with this rubber band pull of responsibilities and obligations. They're all like rubber bands. You can only pull so far away before your attachments pull you back. Obviously, you're very tightly attached to your family and your children, and that's a wonderful thing, right? To have a family and to be able to fulfill those obligations and responsibilities to your children, that's what gives your life meaning. You're very strongly attached to the idea of money. You always need money, so no matter how hard you get into light consciousness, the idea of money can never be very far from your mind. You spend more time on your job than you do with your own children. That's a huge attachment. You're also very attached to your home. You have to pay the rent or the mortgage every month. You're attached to your body. It's what we don't even talk about. You're always going to need food, water, and sleep. See, these obligations and responsibilities, they're not bad. They form the core of our lives. But then what we do is we get ourselves off track with many, many more attachments. And some of them are fun and meaningful to us, but some of our attachments are harmful. And a lot of our attachments limit our abilities. And many, many, many more of our attachments are simply unnecessary. For example, we love to shop. We're crazy about our sports teams. We never miss a game. We watch dozens of hours of television or YouTube videos every day and every week. We mindlessly scroll all day through our phones. We're constantly checking our emails, messages, and posts. We watch hours of depressing news, and all of these activities bind us even more tightly to our lower reality. Each of these attachments, for better or worse, creates habits and routines that we follow. See, if you were able to observe yourself, just kind of look down at yourself from the outside, you would see that you have thousands of habits and routines throughout the day that kind of pass the time from one thing to another without even thinking. You pass every single day mindlessly immersed in the habits and routines of the outer world. And in this lower awareness, you accept limitation and unhappiness as if these were normal conditions. There's an entire part of you that's been asleep your whole life, and now you can awaken your higher self and give it primary control over your life. Practicing the light consciousness meditation, it's what's called an enlightened action, because this one action expands your whole life. But there are more enlightened actions that you have to develop. The thought matrix is essential to establishing a moral compass. Deep breathing to expand your lungs, the spinal stretch to open your joints, the chakra balancing and the energy exercises. When you develop these new habits, you're trading out attachments to the lower world and creating attachments to the higher world, the light consciousness where you really want to be. And once you create these new habits, and it usually takes about 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to find countless benefits and blessings in your life. As you awaken to your light consciousness, you will be simplifying your life, focusing your thoughts, reclaiming your health, feeling your energy flow through your body, and becoming an all-around better version of yourself. But even when we experience light consciousness, we're constantly being pulled back by these rubber bands of our attachments. We're constantly being pulled back to the obligations and responsibilities of life. So here's where the spiral comes in. The spiral allows us to momentarily break these attachments. Take a deep breath. Raise yourself to this perspective, this feeling of light consciousness. You have all the time in the world. This one phrase about time is the key to staying in your experience of light consciousness. When you're in light consciousness, even just for one moment, you have no connection to time. You have all the time in the world. In light consciousness, look down on mind, and you'll see that the universe is your canvas. Allow yourself to gently spiral in larger and larger cycles. Now, of course, if you're alone, right, you can gently spiral. If you're in public, mentally spiral in light consciousness. Not just a mental feeling of spiraling, but feel the freedom of your emotions as you spiral. Feel the power of your body and your health. Feel the flow of energy through your body. Direct your mind to your thought matrix and your moral compass. From here, as you spiral in light consciousness, you can think any thoughts, create any future, claim any destiny, and the key to working in light consciousness is the suspension of time. Now, you'll be back in the outer world soon enough, right? But for now, take another deep breath and imagine yourself spiraling, just like galaxies spiral. Spiraling, the physical activity, will help you disconnect from the limitation of time and remain in the experience of light consciousness. The spiral of light consciousness allows you to create a really magnificent vision of your highest self, and you're projecting that vision through a calm and balanced mind, through a flowing energetic system, through a feeling of emotional peace, and through a feeling of health and vitality in your physical body. I want you to expand the spiral and paint your light bigger and wider. You have no limitations at this level of your being. Simplicity, timelessness, balance, relaxation. These are the skills you're developing as you spiral in the inner world. And each time you feel the pull of the outer world, remind yourself you have all the time in the world. You can paint spirals as big and infinitely incredible as you want to. You can create any future from this perch of light consciousness. So throughout the day, I want you to actually try this exercise. Start every activity with a slow, deep breath and a feeling of light consciousness, and then just very gently spiral as you remind yourself that you have all the time in the world. And what we're going to start doing is we're going to start to manage our obligations and responsibilities from light consciousness instead of having our obligations and responsibilities overwhelm us in lower consciousness. Take this gentle feeling of spiraling and bring it to all of your activities, your conversations, your children, while you're at work, watching TV, whatever you're doing. Take a deep breath and try to do it from light consciousness, and try to keep yourself in light consciousness for as long as possible. Imagine yourself spiraling during all your activities. Drop the limitations of time and explore the full limits of your ability. Now, in the next video, I'm going to build on this gentle spiral, like galactic spiraling in light consciousness, and I'm going to give you a series of mantras, statements that you can repeat that will allow you to stay in light consciousness longer. I'll see you at the next video.